Good evening, folks. This is Real with Robo, and I was just looking at my views, and I'm like totally surprised. I'm just amazed. You guys are awesome. I mean, thank you for sharing my videos. But I wanted to speak about Bill de Blasio, and I know this is going around, making its circles around the thing, and how just awful he is for New York people. I mean, New Yorkers deserve better than this guy. And definitely New York police deserve better. I mean, he was all down for painting murals on the ground in front of Trump Tower. Okay? And I'm all for free speech. So, like, BLM, okay, so they painted their mural. I understand that. That's their right. They could, do it if the city approves it. And he participated in it. But it just shows his bias when these other people, they wanted to paint, Blue Lives Matter and make a little mural outside of a police station. And he told them, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, okay, so what you're saying is that you support the people that destroy black communities, black businesses, all that. You destroy that. But you're not okay with the people that protect the average everyday black citizen and white citizen and Chinese citizen and Mexican citizen. And I could go on for days on how many different races that police protect and how many races police are. And what gets my gill is that, I mean, I have nothing nice to say about BLM at all, like ever. Because every time I hear something about BLM, it's something about somebody got killed at one of their protests. So, they said that it was okay to loot and burn down stores. And I'm like, these people are saying Black Lives Matter, but yet their actions and their encouragement to other people is destroy the black businesses, loot the businesses that hire people in the community, and just call it reparations. No, I'm going to call it what it is, a crime. And now we have Bill de Blasio saying, okay, yeah, you could put that, you could put Black Lives Matter, because they do. I mean, in all honesty, I believe truly that all lives matter. Black lives definitely matter. White lives matter. It doesn't matter what color you are, you matter. Who am I and who are anyone? Who is anyone to tell us whose life is more precious than whose? Okay? And I mean, this goes back to the basic foundations of the church, where it says, great and small, we're precious, one and all, in God's eyes. Okay? So it doesn't matter if, you're the president of the United States or if you're a hobo on the street. Your life matters. And it should matter. And what gets me about most of this is that these people are saying, well, what about humanity? What about being humane and human rights and all that other stuff? What about these people that are suffering? because the end thing is to defund cops and get rid of cops. And the criminals are literally preying on these people in New York and in other places. But I mean, since we're talking about Bill de Blasio, we might as well talk about New York. These people in New York are suffering. These little people, like me, like you, are suffering. And Bill de Blasio wants to put, oh, Black Lives Matter on the ground. Which, okay, that's the First Amendment. If you get permission to do that, by all means, have fun with it. But then when Blue Lives Matter comes up to him and says, hey, can we make a nice mural across the street so, you know, when the cops come out of their precinct, they could see that they're cared for too? No, you can't. What? And I honestly feel for the police officers, and I feel for the communities out there, because if Black Lives Matter so much, if black and brown people mattered so much to Black Lives Matter, like they say, oh, we need to have history taught by black and brown and native scholars. There's not going to be any scholars to teach history. This kid got killed sitting in a stroller, 1 year old. Guys, really? I mean, the violence and nonsense. Look at all the victims in the deaths since those stupid riots in Seattle started. And no, they're not protests, and no, they're not mostly peaceful protests. They are riots. Look at it. 99% of those deaths are black and brown people. But these people are supposed to be fighting for black and brown people to feel safe, to be equal. I mean, granted, death comes for us all, but I don't think that's the equality black people want. I think they want to be heard as much as everybody else is heard. And if you look at the statistics, many quote unquote black and brown people want more cops, more training for their cops so they're better at it. They want security, not via criminals. And what got me today is that I actually heard on the news that a BLM leader got arrested and is charged with 4 felonies because they literally stopped and harassed and scared the hell out of somebody commuting down the street. Now, I don't care if you're left or right. You know how I roll. I do not care if you're left or right. I do not care what political faction, what color, whatever you are. The fact of the matter is when we look at New York, specifically New York, we see our fellow Americans suffering under Bill de Blasio and his stupidity. I mean, for real. Who sends, other than Governor Cuomo and Bill de Blasio, elderly that have coronavirus back to elderly care homes? And then they say Trump doesn't take it seriously? Okay, so why are you putting infected people with non-infected people? And you know that elderly get infected more? Oh, wait, that's right, because look at what Bill de Blasio and Cuomo did. They and the other governor slash mayor, whatever, the other politician, made sure that their elderly loved ones were out of the old folks' home before they did that. So that shows you right there, New York City, Brooklyn, all the boroughs, how much that man cares about you. He'll take his elderly loved one out of the elderly folks' home, leave yours in there, and then put infected people in there with them. And then he's going to cry, oh, well, I said that they, had to stay quarantined on the 4th level. Excuse me. Have we heard of air conditioning vents? I am not an air conditioning specialist, but if you have the same airflow in the same place and you have infected people on the 4th floor and okay people on the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, and you share the same air circulation, hello?
Hope you got some serious filters kicking off in that place, because if not...
Well, we saw what happened. A lot of old folks died because of Bill de Blasio and Cuomo. And now the latest slap in the face is Bill de Blasio. He sees how his communities are suffering. If we could see it, people, and I know people on the left, my liberal and Democrat friends, quote unquote viewers, I know y'all see it, that they're suffering, especially from rise in crime. And now he's going to spit in the face of police officers again. And I don't care how you feel about the issues of whether we should defund, dismantle police. The fact of the matter is the community there, they're saying they want their police. The little people like us. The little people, the little liberals, the little Democrats that don't quite think, running with the pack and mob mentality and are going to vote. Little people, us, and conservatives and Republicans and all that. And here's Bill de Blasio spitting in the face of his community. That was my coffee pot, by the way. But spitting in the face of his community by saying, okay, well, these people have the right to put whatever they want on the sidewalk, on the street. But no, the rest of you don't have a voice because it doesn't click with what the mob wants. So he basically doesn't care about the little guy and the silent majority. That would be us. The ones that say, hey, we know some cops are bad. And there's some cops that are good. But even liberals and Democrats and Republicans and conservatives, we all can agree that in any walk of life, you're going to find your scum and you're going to find your good guys. Okay? We could all agree on that. And it's like, he's just spitting in the face of his community like, no, you can't put up a mural to support cops because, I don't like your opinion. I know about liberals and Democrats. I was a Democrat and I changed to nonpartisan. And I know that liberals and Democrats do not like when the government tells us to shut up, that we don't have an opinion. I know y'all liberals out there feel that way. Like, who are you to tell us to shut up? No, we have rights. We don't need to shut up. You need to shut up. And so basically, he's going to let BLM, the ones that approve of these riots, approve of looting and committing crimes, approve of slapping an old lady in the face with paint because she stood up for what she believes in. They approve of all that and encourage all that. And he allows them to put their moniker on the street. However, when there's good people, and I'm not going to say the left has no good people, because a lot of people think of the left as Democrats and liberals, and that's not true. Liberals and Democrats right now, they're like the middle, because they're like, that's a little too far left for us to go, but we don't want to go right, so, and they're always associated with the left. And that's not fair, because not all liberals, not all Democrats think that way. Those are socialists, Marxists, commies, and progressives that I consider the left. Okay? So let's get that on the forefront. And so basically Bill de Blasio told them, no. You can't put down, you can't paint your mural and say, hey, we believe in you cops. We need you. We want you to take this crime off the street, and we want you to help us and keep us safe. Because a lot of people, since we're on the topic of demands about letting people out of jail and all that, think about all those felons that have actually learned their lesson while they were in prison. Okay, they learned about it. And now they're trying to turn their life around. But because they have a felony, they can't own a gun. How are they going to protect themselves? Other than committing another crime and getting a gun. If the police aren't there, they can't protect themselves. And believe me, police, once you're done serving your time, the good police out there, they don't care if you're a felon and you call 911 and you say, hey, there's this guy trying to break into my house. I'm not allowed to have a gun. Please come quickly. Help me. They'll come quickly and help them. But Bill de Blasio wants his police force to morale to be at zero. He's basically giving all of his citizens that are good, law-abiding citizens up to the criminals. And that's sad. I pray for New York. I pray for the cops out in New York. Because I can't imagine trying to work under those conditions, never mind, let alone live under those conditions, to where you can't do nothing because everything you do is going to be called by the mayor as your fault. You're bad. Liberals and Democrat friends, can you imagine that? If everything you do, everyone calls you bad. Oh wait, that's right. You can imagine that. Because that's how it is today. And that's how a lot of people portray Democrats and liberals. Well, I'm here to say that everyone is welcome on my channel. Liberals and Democrats, Republicans, conservative, constitutionalists, independents, nonpartisans like I am, bipartisans, everybody. Except for socialists, Marxists, commies, and progressives. I don't want to hear that crap. Because they're the ones that infiltrated my party, destroyed my party, and now we're looking at what they want. And there's good Democrats out there and good liberals out there that are catching the blame for it. Because these idiots in Congress are hiding under the Democrat name and the liberal name. Everybody knows Seattle is a liberal city. But for the most part, if you look at all those people out there, they're not liberals. They're not from Seattle. But liberals are still going to catch hell for it. because people cannot put two and two together. Yes, it's a liberal city, and it's ran by Democrats, but if you look at the policies, it matches neither platform. And besides, Democrats and liberals, we hate big government. It's like government get out our business. Like, for real. Me, I'm a little more liberal Democrat than most people are. I admit it. Which would be called a conservative Republican, whatever these days. But Bill de Blasio, you need to quit. Because you are making my fellow patriots in New York City, my fellow Americans in New York City and the Bronx, Brooklyn, and all the boroughs suffer at the hands of criminals. And you sit there wide-mouthed and say, oh, I didn't know that they would commit another crime if we let them out of prison. Yeah, because they're not learning a lesson. Dummy. They're not forced to take responsibility for their actions. Dummy. And now because of that, good people are suffering. I don't know if there's liberals and Democrats in New York City. I want to say there's a lot of Democrats. But it's like, regardless what political stance you take, you're still a human being at the end of the day. You see what I'm saying? You're still a human being. And you don't deserve to be hurt, maimed, killed, robbed by criminals. You don't deserve that. I understand a lot of people say, well, you know, Robo, Black Lives Matter. They do. But look at what's going on in New York City. If Black Lives Matter so much, then enlighten me on how in the world Black Lives Matter, and yet all these black people are being hurt. I mean, black babies are getting killed. I mean, how can somebody say, yeah, you know, I'm down for black and brown people, and then turn around and allow this to happen to their people? I don't understand it. But I am mad about that mural, because if Black Lives Matter and everybody else has the right and the privilege to paint their moniker, their lie, because that's what it is, and deface public property, city property, then I don't know why, because I'm sure the other side that takes the other point of view and that are anti-cop will say the same about the cop mural. Why can't we have that? I don't understand. Because you've got patriots pissed off about the Black Lives Matter moniker on the ground. And you got people that actually know what Black Lives Matter is about, mad about their moniker on the ground. And you're afraid of making people mad by putting up a mural across the street of a police department so that when they come out, they could see that they're loved. That's ridiculous. I mean, if you're going to piss people off, be like me. Make everybody mad. Piss everybody off. Like you pissed half of the community off with the Black Lives Matter moniker on the ground. So piss the other half of the community off with the police. Because 9 out of 10 times, the ones that back the police mural, that back the police, are going to be the ones that actually show up to vote. And actually have the right to vote. Because as we've seen again, BLM getting arrested, their higher echelon getting arrested for crimes. You see what I'm saying? Every single time it's like this. Every time BLM pops their ugly head up, somebody out of their little upper echelon gets arrested for whatever. And quite frankly, I think New York, and I think all around America, is getting sick and tired of this anti-American, anti-police, anti-good people sentiment. It breaks my heart for the people in New York. I hope to God that my friends, because I don't call you viewers, I don't call you subscribers, whatever. My friends, if you know a New Yorker, share this video with them and let them know that Robo and so many other people love them and we're praying for them. And we hope, out of all hopes, that it'll get better for them. We're praying for their safety. We're praying for their security. We're praying for their happiness. We're praying for their prosperity. Because that's the way Americans do. Our fellow Americans are suffering in New York, and it's because of this idiot de Blasio. He didn't get enough by killing off people's elderly loved ones. He didn't get enough by letting the criminals kill off his communities. Now he's openly attacking people who support the police, because he's not yet done dismantling and defunding and breaking down the police morale. He's not done spitting in their face. And the question I have for the New York City police is, with all that crap and all that scandal and all that corruption that is tied onto his wife, why is she not in jail? Because personally, I think that would be a great come up for him. A great comeuppance. She and he are both connected to so much fraud and corruption. I think that you guys should get the FBI involved in it and have him and her arrested. And then be like, no wonder you hate us. You're criminals. And if we look at BLM and the rest of the people that hate them, they're criminals too. And if they weren't criminals, they are now, by going out and looting people's store. So to me, yes, Black lives matter very much. But so do white lives. And so do Hispanic lives. And so do Oriental lives. And so does any other race life. They matter to me. And Bill de Blasio, if anybody mattered to you other than your pocketbook and your laziness, you would let everybody have the free speech that you give to the mob. And so I'm going to let it go at that. And I'm going to say, Bill de Blasio, I hope these people vote you out, because you do not deserve New York City. You do not deserve the people of New York City. You do not deserve my fellow patriots and my fellow Americans that live in New York City. You do not deserve them, and they deserve better. And that's Real with Robo.